What's up, vapers? Thanks for checking out Daily Vape TV. My name is Nick, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Berserker Mini. So the random question for today is, how many setups do you run on a daily basis? Just leave me a comment right down there in the box below. I'd love to hear from you guys. Personally, I probably run about 4 setups and then a couple of pod systems as well. I mean, I work at a vape shop and I like to have something from every different aspect of vaping on me so I can actually give someone a live demonstration of what they should be expecting. But that's just me. How many do you guys like to run? Just let me know right down there in the comments box below. So the device we're going to be taking a look at today is this guy right here, the Berserker Mini. This is basically the little brother of the full-size Berserker, which are of course both mouth-to-lung RTAs. And a big shout out goes to Vandy-Vape for allowing me to take a look at this device for the purpose of making this video. And yeah, I've really been enjoying mouth-to-lung vaping again, guys. I mean, I've kind of rediscovered my passion for it and just kind of been enjoying it lately because it's just a nice change of pace, you know, after trying so many direct-to-lung devices, you know, all these RDAs and all these high-powered super sub-ohm tanks. It's just nice to have a nice little puff every now and then. So taking a quick look online, this device is available in 4 different color options. You have black, stainless steel, rainbow, and gold, and it's going to run you anywhere between 35 to 40 bucks, somewhere in that ballpark. And if you guys want to pick one up for yourself, I'll leave a link right down there in the description below. But without further ado, let's go ahead and dive down to the close-up view and take a better look at this thing. Alright guys, as you can see, we've got the Berserker Mini in its original box, so let's quickly take a look around the packaging and then we'll talk about what is inside. So this is a trial, pre-production package, sample, what have you. So this is not what yours is going to look like. However, let's just go ahead and just flip it around here. We got the Vandy-Vape logos as we normally do. We have a color indication there, your typical Vandy-Vape stuff, and on the back just the company information, and that's about it. So moving on, I'm just going to kind of breeze over that outside because obviously yours is just going to look different, so why bother even talking about it. We have the Berserker Mini itself, so there we go, just like that, and we'll talk about that in just a second here. You also get an Ultem drip tip, one of these nice little kind of pawn kind of Ming vase sort of drip tips there, which is nice. I like the black one better, but hey, that's just me. You get an Ultem piece for the center, so if you want to use the Ultem and match it with your drip tip, that's all good. Then you have the metal section as well with a cool looking kind of skull thing going on there. Hopefully you guys can see that. It's like a Viking skull shield looking thing, which is pretty neat. Underneath the obligatory package of parts, we have a spare 510 connection. We have a bunch of O-rings, a screwdriver, and a couple pre-made Clapton coils. So kind of nice that they give you a couple of pre-made coils. I prefer to make my own, but hey, that's just me. They just throw a couple in the box for you, which is definitely a nice touch. Alright guys, let's talk about the specs. It's 22 millimeters in diameter with a threaded top fill system, 2 large kidney fill ports, a 2 milliliter Ultem tank section, 2 mil stainless steel tank section, and 2 mil glass tank section. You get a 2-post single terminal build deck, peak insulated positive post, top mounted Phillips screws, single internal air tube on build deck, dual wicking ports, dual adjustable bottom air slots with the adjustable air hole size from 0.8 millimeter, 1 millimeter, 1.2 millimeter, 1.4 millimeter, and 1.6 millimeter. You also have 5 millimeter bore Ultem drip tip included, as well as a 5 millimeter bore Delrin drip tip included, and it's got a gold-plated 510 connection. Alright guys, so let's go from top to bottom with the Berserker Mini here, starting off with this drip tip at the top, and they actually give you 2 drip tips in the box, an Ultem one and a Delrin one as well. They're both pretty much identical. 2 O-rings on the bottom, which fit in there really, really nicely, and they have a 5 millimeter bore for each of these here. Super duper comfortable to vape on. I like that they threw 2 in there just in case, you know, if you want to get matchy-matchy with your Ultem, then you can do that. But I personally prefer the Delrin tip myself, so there we go. It's just this nice, comfortable size and shape and everything like that. It's perfect for mouth to lung. So when you take the drip tip out, you can see this little inscription here that says Vandy-Vape, and you can't see that when that actual included drip tip is on there because the base kind of covers it. But with that, it also has an inscription right there on the outside that says, "Enter a state of wild fury," just like its counterpart, the full-size Berserker. Has these little kind of teardrop shapes all around the top cap, which don't really do much of anything as far as grip or anything like that, but hey, they wanted to stylize it a little bit there, and I don't blame them. Taking off this top cap section, you can see that there's an O-ring on the inside part there to prevent leaking, and you have your two kidney fill ports right there at the top, which are ample, and it's pretty easy to fill up this thing, and you don't have to do it very often, which is a nice touch. So yeah, still super easy to fill this thing with another O-ring on the inside there. Then we get to the glass section and the bell cap section. A little bit less curved than the full-size Berserker, but it still has a little bit of a chamfer right there on the inside. You can probably see that, and probably from the outside as well. This glass comes off fairly easily, just like that, and you have a little engraving or a laser etching right there of, I don't know, that's kind of a weird symbol, but hey, it's interesting, something different. Then you have your Ultim. If you want to throw your Ultim on there, there you go. Kind of looks like that. And you have your full metal section as well. If you want this thing solid as a rock, there you go. You can replace that with the full metal section. Very easy to swap these in and out. And here we have the build deck section. As you can see, I left my build in there so you guys can take a look at it. There we go. Pretty simple little 26 gauge 3mm spaced coil. Honestly, I usually do a couple extra wraps, but with this one here, I decided to bring it down just ever so slightly. This is a sub-ohm build. Normally I like building above 1 ohm when it comes to mouth to lung, but there we go. You can see the big old screw heads on the top there, which you can use a flathead or a Phillips head screwdriver. And you can see the juice fill ports right there at the sides. That's where you're going to tuck the cotton into. Very, very easy as well. And it's got these little walls kind of blocking in that wire up here on the sides. Hopefully you guys can see that. And that makes it that much easier to build this thing. And otherwise, you can see the little O-ring right here at the bottom. And then you have your airflow section. So this is kind of a teardrop shaped airflow section. So even though you have different airflow holes, you can even fine tune them by just adjusting that a little tiny bit left or right. If you turn this thing looking down at the top, counterclockwise, the air holes get bigger. Clockwise, the holes get smaller. And obviously you can get it down to 0.8 millimeters, which is pretty darn tiny. But I usually go with the smallest or the second smallest hole for my personal style of mouth-to-lung vaping, but obviously you have plenty of options there. And on the bottom here, you can see all the different engravings. It's got a very light kind of laser etching sort of look to it. It's got Alex from Vapors MD on there with his YouTube channel, Berserker-Mini-RTA, and designed and manufactured by Vandy-Vape, etc., etc. Your typical Vandy-Vape thing. Then you can see the gold-plated 510 connection and the peak insulation there. It does protrude ever so slightly, which is kind of nice. However, I doubt anyone would ever use this thing on a hybrid mechanical mod. So that's about all I've got for you guys in this little close-up section here. Let's go back to the main screen, have a quick vape on this thing, and we'll talk about it some more. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed the close-up section of the video. Now let's talk about my personal thoughts about this device, some pros, some cons, and whether or not it's worth purchasing. Starting off today with the pros, and my first pro is that it's super easy to build. This thing could not be any easier. There's really not a whole lot to the build with this one here. You just kind of do your everyday average sort of mouth-to-lung setup and slot your coil in, tighten it down, and you get it up and running in a matter of maybe 5 minutes or so. The wicking process is super easy as well. You just kind of measure out your cotton, you pull it through, you trim it roughly, you tuck it down a little bit. Usually I'll just wet it with a little bit of liquid and just kind of stick it to the bottom. And if it seems a little bit too long or too much cotton, then I'll just kind of trim it a little bit, and that's it. That's pretty much all that there is to set this thing up, and you can accomplish this feat in no time. My second pro for this device is the flavor. I'm getting really good flavor off of this setup right now, and I'm not sure if it's because of the reduced chamber or the bell cap or whatnot, but as it stands, I've got it running a 26 gauge space build, sitting at 0.8 ohms, so it is sub-ohm, rocking 17 watts. I mean, that's all I need for my preferred mouth-to-lung. I've got the second air hole open, and right now I'm just in heaven. And my third pro for this device is the tightness of the airflow. I really like the restriction on this one. It absolutely reminds me of my favorite mouth-to-lung device, which is the Nautilus. The airflow holes seem to be about the same sizes, which is just right for me. And when I'm running my normal kind of 1+ ohm builds on this thing, I'll use the smallest airflow hole possible, with that, I get a really nice tight mouth-to-lung draw. It's just the right temperature and everything just kind of clicks into place and you get one hell of a good experience. And my fourth and final pro for this device is the tip. I love the tip on this thing. I like that they include that slightly curved drip tip. It kind of conforms to your lips and just rests in your mouth just so perfectly. Kind of Phil Basardo-esque sort of tip here, and I kind of like vaping it like he does, you know, just out of the corner of your mouth, just kind of puffing on the thing, and it kind of makes you feel a little bit more distinguished. Honestly, this is definitely my preferred tip shape when it comes to mouth-to-lung vaping. Alright guys, so moving on to the cons, my first con is that there's no air hole showing if you turn the airflow control all the way to the right or all the way to the left. Now, I did say this exact same thing in my original Berserker review, but with that, it's just kind of one of those things where if you accidentally nudge this thing off to the side ever so slightly and you go to take a puff off of it, you're going to get a dry hit and it's going to hurt. It's not going to be a pleasant experience if there's no airflow going to your coils. So, really wish they added some sort of clicky feature in there to make it kind of lock into place for the different airflow slots, but with that, it's just another time they left that feature out. And my second con for this device is another repeat from my original Berserker review, which is the build deck on this thing could use a little bit more innovation and maybe a little bit of an improvement as well. Honestly, I wish they did more than just add little walls next to the screw heads to kind of trap your wire in. Maybe a postless deck. I would love to see a mouth-to-lung postless deck setup come out. That would be a really cool thing. Maybe even a clamp style or something like that. I don't know, just some sort of innovation would have been a nice change of pace from your traditional sort of K-Fun-esque sort of deck. And my third and final con for this device is kind of a no-brainer. You can't see your juice level when you're using the full metal tank section. Now, honestly, they could have done it like the Nautilus tank where they had a little cutout and had some glass there so you can see your juice level while you're vaping on it, or even maybe the sort of cage design around the outside, which looks really cool and is functional as well, but instead they just went for a full piece of metal on this one here, and personally I wouldn't be able to trust myself vaping for hours at end and not knowing how much juice I have left in the tank. So at the end of the day, is this device worth purchasing? Would I go out of my way to pick one of these up if I didn't get this one in for a review? And I'm going to say yes to this one, but only if I didn't already own a Berserker. Now, I do have a full-size Berserker, so this thing is just kind of a novelty at this point, but I do like rocking it on a smaller setup like this here. So if you're like me and you like having multiple different devices going at once, then maybe this would be a good pickup for you. I like this little mini setup here that I've got it rocking on right now, and I like my full-size on a bigger mod, so I guess there's kind of room for both of them in this industry. The build deck is the exact same. You can run the same build on it and get the same vaping experience out of it, so yeah, it's a pretty neat little thing. I would recommend you guys pick one up for yourself, and if you do want one, then I'll leave a link right down there in the description below. So that about does it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe for more videos just like this. Don't forget to click that notification bell right next to the subscribe button if you want to be alerted whenever I upload videos. Also, leave me some comments in the box below. I'd love to hear your thoughts all about mouth-to-lung vaping, the Berserker Mini, or anything else you guys want to discuss down there. Also, check out the advocacy and my social media links right down there in the box below. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and as always, vape on!